One of the fascinating things that I came across when I was researching for this podcast was tech-free zones.
Right.
Right? Although it's very simple by
Yeah.
going by the words, can you help us understand what that is?
So we advocate a lot for assigning a certain living space in your house to be tech-free. And we prefer that to be where you rest your head in the night, which
Right.
otherwise is your bedroom, right? What we always suggest is most of what we are doing today, because of the influx of technology into our lives, the first thing that it is stealing from us is the sleep time.
Right.
You have your daily routine. You're very busy. You have your work. You come back home. You're very busy with family, right? And then what about that dopamine rush that you've been getting by scrolling through social media? So where is the time for that? What you end up doing is taking out time from your sleep and allocating to screens,
Right.
right? So when you start doing that on a regular basis, it introduces an interruption in your body's circadian rhythms, in your biological clock.
Right.
And that has a bunch of effects, which it's a longer list for me to just talk about.
And it just keeps growing. The list getting bigger every day.
It is not just a single point effect. The lack of sleep is just not going to come out with a lack of focus in the next day. But a prolonged lack of sleep can lead to devastating situations, can lead to chronic diseases, can lead to all sorts of issues for you in future, right? So coming back to tech-free zones, what we say is we ask people to designate a particular spot. Now, what this also does, you must understand, particularly if you have children at home, children do not learn by telling them. You can keep telling the child what to do. They don't learn that way. People who can learn by hearing, they have to cross a certain age before they can rationalize and before they can listen to what you're saying, right? But all through the initial formative years, they learn by watching and observing.
Just by mirroring the parents or their surroundings.
That's about it. So today, we as parents, we call ourselves as digital immigrants. In comparison to the next generation, they're called digital natives because they come into the age.
Sorry. So this generation, you're saying we call them as digital immigrants. The next generation is
Digital natives.
digital natives. Okay.
Digital immigrants means your formative years have not been shaped by technology.
Right.
You've applied technology at a point where your brain can rationalize. So you're at a point where you can take a decision consciously that I would go to this for this 1, 2, 3, 4. It is fair, which means you have a fair amount of self-control. Digital natives, their formative years are formed by technology, being an integral part of their growing years. When that happens, it is no longer a rational thought. It is no longer a cognitive reason for you to take the phone. You're not taking the phone because you want answers. You're taking the phone because you've seen your parents on the phone all the time. So now, these are two different things to distinguish, right? When something like this happens, this is more akin to addiction, whereas the digital immigrants are more able to control. Of course, there are digital immigrants that are addicted as well.
Right.
I'm not denying the fact at all. But then you have this sense of control where you feel that you could stop at any time. You still feel that that doesn't control you. I can still live without it.
It has not gotten to a point where it becomes problematic, basically.
Exactly, right? So when you talk about a child this way, so circling back to your point on tech-free zones, how do you teach the child? How do you make a role model set up at home where you're explaining to the child that there are specific times, there are specific areas at home, right, where you go into that area, there are no screens, right? Which
Right.
means you don't have a choice but to talk to each other, right? You're not now focusing on a screen, and this is called phubbing. It's a new terminology. Phubbing means Suraj is asking me a question and I'm on my phone. It's called phubbing, right? Or I'm talking to you, we are all standing, three of us are talking with each other, and all of a sudden one guy takes the phone and just goes away.
Right.
So this is the highest form of insult to the intelligence of the person in front of you,
Right.
right? That you could provide by totally taking your attention away to something else.